Hi, I'm Mark Dunford and I'm here at Sussex Cricket Club and I'm having a tour about the history of Sussex Cricket Club thanks to Heritage Open Days. So I'm going to be given a tour around the ground and given some brilliant facts and interesting insights of the history of the club, who's played for the club and interesting facts about those players. And yeah, have a look at the ground and go behind the scenes.
Take you around into the media centre, up around the back of the scoreboard. We're cut over on the outfield. They're cutting it and trimming it in preparation for the next game. So we've got permission just to walk on the outside. If you have a lawn at home, that will be the time to look away, because you'll look at even the outfield and it's immaculate. Absolute credit. We take you up to the players' pavilion and then bring you back down through the main pavilion, have a look into the boardroom where all the important decisions are made, and then we'll end up in the museum where you'll be able to have a look at the history of the game. We've been here for about 10 years. We won an award 4 years ago for the quality of our output and the depth and breadth of what we do. So feel free to have a look around there. We have a little box here which looks just like an old rusting box. This is the all-important cabinet that when Sky TV come along and start filming, they don't reinvent all their cabling and lay cabling out all around the ground. A lot of it is already pre-laid. So if you watch cricket and you see stump cam, then that's already pre-wired into 2 or 3 strips. The wiring comes down and ends here. So all Sky need to do, there's no parking here normally, they'll bring their big trucks down here, open up the side, and it's like multi-socket point.
Ooh,
glorious. They then plug one end of the cable into that and the other end of the cable into the various sockets there. They then get a direct feed into all the camera points around the ground. So the question that Tim's come up with is, what is the connection, or how did Paul McCartney reference Ted Dexter during their last open top concert, the infamous one where they were playing Get Back, etc. So we'll give you the answer at the end of the tour. So these will be the stairs that we go up. We take it all the way to the top first of all. Got that? We're on top of the south stand, on top of the media centre here. This used to be the indoor school. We had a gentleman called Spen Karma. When he sadly passed away, he left a multi-million-pound legacy split between our club and Preston Nomads. We used the money to develop the ground, and part of that development was recognising that the indoor facilities that we had for the professional team, although they were good, they weren't the best they could be. It was agreed that we would build a separate indoor school with better nets, indoor physiotherapy, bathing facilities, physiotherapy, you name it, they have it there. And then they would knock this old indoor school down and turn it into a media centre. Media over the course of the day, as we're finding out with Mike here, is becoming more important rather than just the written media that we used to have. On top of that, they decided to top off the stand here by providing this wonderful facility, which Nigel here has taken advantage of. And Nigel is a seat member here, that we can look over the ground. So if you look at the strip which is marked out with the white edging, that'll be being prepared for the next match. If you're lucky enough to be along there, I think Mrs. Lovell, you're probably nearly there behind it, then when people bowl and the art of cricket is seeing whether they're swinging the ball, whether they're turning the ball, if you're fortunate enough to be right behind the bowler's arm, it adds to the quality of the game, it adds to your enjoyment of the game, particularly if you're an avid cricket fan. Turn left. In there, that's it. Make sure there's nobody in there meeting them, okay? So Adrian Harms will come in here with his fellow colleague from whichever county we're playing. Booth here. We use the 2 for a meeting room, so if the staff need to have a confidential meeting, they can come up here, have a chat. Room with a view, absolutely immaculate for that. They can see the radio commentary team there as well. And it's an interesting distinction now. They talk about radio and the written media, whereas before it would be the sports.
But this is
Swag wheels, they split difference between the two.
very much.
Woman MCC president, a prime minister, 3 Indian princes, and a bishop. I'll tell you the answers at the end if you don't already know.
When the ground was purchased and built in 1871, this concrete wall is built all the way around the ground. It's a fascinating object. There's about 12 different layers of concrete, about 20-30 feet long. You imagine that each layer would have taken a day to build and settle. It would have taken at least a week for each segment. You work your way around the ground. We worked at something like 400 or 500 yards. It would have taken them best part of a year. Now you just put a fence panel up and take it round. So the fence here is partly hidden it. It's all still intact, apart from the northern part, where with the modern flats, I think the developers kind of like took the wall down and put their own brick wall up. We're now at the back of the scoreboard, originally built 1930. The inside of the score would have been the old-fashioned rope and pulley method, so you'd have had 2 people in there watching the game intently to make sure that they counted every run, they counted every wicket, made sure everything added up, and that's where you'd probably see the odd famous photo of people looking at the scoreboard, looking up, just to make sure that if it should read 35, it does read 35 and not 53. Even if you're on the pulley system, it's possible not to get it quite right. It became digitised about 8 years ago with the front of the board, and then it was re-upgraded about 2 years ago. I think water, electronics and wind don't always mix well, so they've improved the whole scoreboard, and they've made it a little bit brighter too, so on a bright afternoon, if you're watching it, it becomes a lot clearer. Is used for the occasional memorial to sadly people who have passed away. Tragedy with the Rashid brothers here, April 2002, where Umar lost his life trying to save his younger brother from drowning. Just before the start of the cricket season, the club were devastated by that, and it felt appropriate just to put a little plaque just to remember their name. Other people, Peter Cotter, who's the chairman of the Supporters Club, Keith Partridge, who is a character and a great supporter of the club, and Alan Oakman, who played for the county, who is the founder of the Sussex Cricket Society. So we take you round through and we can walk on the outfield and do just have a look to see the quality. It is absolutely immaculate. Apart from the little weed there right on the outfield, there's nothing going on. They pay attention to it almost every day of the year. They'll cut it even through the winter, so they don't allow any growth to happen. It was noticeable that when they cut the grass just now, there were no real grass clippings that came off. They're just shaving it literally every other day to make sure that where the grass is worn a bit thin, it'll grow back. They want to give it a good start. Normally grass will continue to grow up until about the end of October, so they know they've got a narrow window before it'll bed down for the winter to really put it to bed. And
It's not like the Lord's slope though, it's the wrong way.
And no, the Sussex slope goes
different way.
north-south.
The
north slope goes across the
Yeah.
And they leased it off the Bennett Stamford family, who were the major landowners around here at the time. They'd obtained a private Act of Parliament to be able to sell off their land, which is why they were able to move from the ground that used to be almost on the seafront, about half a mile in that direction. So they moved here in 1872. At the time, Eaton Road wasn't even a made-up road along in front of there. Eaton Road was made up as far as the entrance to the club, and all these places around here all the houses, they were built later after they moved here in 1872. So it was a ploy of the Bennett Stamford estate to enhance the prestige of the area, and then following that, big houses were built all around the ground. And as you can see, they've gradually been bought up by developers and converted or redeveloped into flats. So they quite often acquire two at a time, but it's much harder to do that now.
2 Sussex players have appeared in 3 Oscar-nominated films, one of which won Best Picture. Both these players are buried locally. And you're going to say?
Yeah.
And one is buried very local to where we're actually standing now.
Yeah, as
Well, under here.
Yeah, one
as an
player is,
accolade
one
to the
player
club.
is.
It's not accorded to everybody, but obviously it's not the actual body.
It's the ashes.
It's the ashes.
Oh.
Individually, they need obviously committee chairman approval,
Yeah.
and you need to have done something quite well for the club. Rupert Webb is buried. He used to be a wicket keeper, and he's buried at the northern part of the strips there.
Yeah, and
Jack Hobbs is buried just off Old Shore Road.
Yes, and Rupert Webb appeared in 4 weddings and a funeral, and he was and Robert Webb was Duckface's dad. Right at the end scene when they have that fight, that's Rupert Webb.
Yeah. And the other person is Aubrey Smith. Aubrey Smith is a player.
Actor,
The
Hollywood.
actor.
Went to Hollywood, helped form the Hollywood Cricket Club, then became an actor, appeared in films, Fought Feathers, etc. And you imagine being a Hollywood actor, when he died, his remains were in some huge mausoleum. Turned up, we found out that there's a tombstone with his name on it in a church along New Church Road.
Sunday afternoons in Hollywood was a big social thing, and you had David Niven, Boris Karloff, Douglas Fairbanks Jr. They all used to go and play cricket or go there to socialise. Elizabeth Taylor, they all did.
Wow.
Relatively undeveloped area, so they wanted to build an indoor school, much improved facilities. So they built the changing rooms, indoor nets over to the right, outdoor nets are behind the stand there. So this is the new players pavilion and changing room areas. Again, the players have a great view of the ground. They don't need to be behind the bowler's arms because, as Keith Greenfield mentioned, they've got all the stats on various people. Part of the performance director's role over the winter will be to analyse the teams that we're going to be playing next year. With any sports ground, you have a home team and a visitor team, an away team. The home team will build upon their facilities and they'll improve them to a good standard. The away team will be given a more Spartan, a more basic facility. It's all part of the game, all part of the sport. So if we were allowed into the changing rooms, it would have a much bigger changing room. The facilities would be better. If you go to the away changing room, it'll be like a tiled floor, tiled wall, very small table. It's still enough to keep everyone happy, but not enough to make them feel at home.
When Sir Winston Churchill was at prep school, at Brunswick School, he used to come here to watch cricket. Ian Fleming, who wrote James Bond, spent his last summer watching cricket here in 1964, and of course his 2 nasty characters, Blofeld and Scaramanga, have cricket connections. Blofeld's son is Henry Blofeld, the Test match special commentator, and Scaramanga played for Sussex Amateurs in the 1930s.
Wow.
Did, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
One of the other facilities that at the start of play, they normally have a bell which they can ring. The umpire might come down and ring it just to signify the start of play. So anybody chatting away, maybe not paying attention. They hear the bell and they know that's it. Game's about to start.
So guest celebs ring the bell for test matches usually.
They do. In fact, yeah, the one at Lord's, they've turned it into an event now, and they almost invite people, you know, who are doing something at the moment to come along and make a big feature of it. Yeah. We've actually purchased a similar bell down in the museum, which you can give a ring, and if when we open the museum at tea or before play, lunch and tea, we take joy in ringing it just to let people know that you know, it's almost like the pub landlord time's up, and it lets people know that yeah, it's time to go out to the field of play and watch cricket again. Welcome to our museum. Keith is here. Keith's our curator. Good afternoon, everyone. Has been again the benefit of the Spen Karma legacy, in that prior to the pavilion being restored and upgraded and the facilities being upgraded, believe it or not, this is where the groundsman used to be. So we've seen the tractor mowing and dabbling the pitch. We've seen all the work that they do and carry out. They would have had all their equipment in here, the heavy roller. This would have been before they would have had a tractor, and part of the reason for them wanting improved facilities is that if you really want to bring the ground up to the condition that you see it today, absolutely A1, you really need modern equipment. So it was agreed that they would have a purpose-built set of huts over at the north end where they can keep all their mechanical equipment, so when it comes to preparing the ground, it's in a much better state. So we were the beneficiaries of them moving out. It's a long, thin museum. We've divided it into like Gallery 1, Gallery 2, Gallery 3. And we've got Gallery 1 where we have the golden times, the history of the cricket, which we can't really change. We represent. The picture over on the wall is the match against Australia, and that's where we were. The building on the bottom left is the back of the scoreboard, where we had the plaques to former players. You can see the difference there. The media centre is that building over on the far left, which they used to call the cowshed. The pavilion in the main part of the building is still recognisable today. That's where we are. We're on the left by Tim's thumb there. And then yeah, we should have rehearsed that a bit more, shouldn't we? And then interestingly, if you look at the ground, the top of the ground now it's been shaved off a little bit, so they have the outdoor nets there and the seating area. Originally it would have gone up a little bit more, but the fascinating point about this photograph, if you look at the representation of men and women, there's a large contingent of women as well as men. All the men have like a boater hat on, and the ladies are invariably in their refinery.
What year was that? What year was that?
1909.
1909.
Yeah, and the Australian team will feature in another little story we have up at the end, which again is a complete nice little twist, mixing aviation and cricket. And again, there aren't that many clubs that can kind of like bring the two in together, but it's a great national story, if not international story.
When they did the rooftop concert, they played Get Back twice, and at the end of the second one there was polite applause. It's a bit like a cricket match. So Paul McCartney said, "Looks like Ted Dexter has scored another." And in answer to the questions, who was the first lady MCC president?
Claire Connor.
No, with the Sussex connection. Claire Connor.
Yeah.
Who is the Prime Minister that's played for Sussex?
Ted Heath.
A couple of you guys have mentioned his name today to me. Imran Khan.
Yeah. Who we don't talk about much, do we?
The three Indian princes.
Nawab Patodi.
Yeah.
Ranjit Singh.
Ranji and Dulip. And the bishop.
David Shepherd.
Correct. We had two glider pilots who took part in the Battle of Arnhem in World War II.
Johnson was the first female aviator to fly from England to Australia. When she landed in Australia, she was lauded as being an international hero. She made her way back to the UK and wanted to do a tour around the UK, a celebration tour. Brighton Hove Worthing Airport had just opened, so they invited her to land there. Brighton Council, who part-own the airport, invited her for a civic reception. At the same time, we happened to be playing Australia. It's a cricket match here. When the Australian team got to hear of her arrival, they said that they wanted to, as a team, they wanted to meet her, and that they would be happy to delay the tea interval until she actually arrived.
So I've just finished my tour of Sussex Cricket Club and learned so much about the history of the club. I mean, you've seen from all the videos, just seeing the memorials behind the scorebox, going into the media centre, the great view from the top of the media centre, and also learning all those great facts about Paul McCartney's connection with the song Get Back and Ted Dexter, the Bond, all the Bond things with Ian Fleming. It's amazing, really. Really good, lots of history, and the museum's great, so many good artefacts. I recommend you, if you're ever down here for a game, give it a look, and ask someone about the history and some of the facts about some of the players, because it really is fascinating.